Hey everybody, it's Greg Martin here. Strap on in and put on your big boy pants. It's time to listen to Pop Goes Your World with Derek Myers and Chris McBrien.
If you haven't already, subscribe on iTunes. And while you're there, please leave us a rating and review.
And now it's time for our feature presentation.
I'm Chris McBrien, and the pop culture from Generation X is everything to me.
And I'm Derek Myers, and I'm here to educate Chris on the great pop culture of today's generation.
Episode 309, TV Christmas Episodes. Chris McBrien along with Derek Myers, and this is Pop Goes Your World, the pop culture podcast for the generations. We're in the holiday season, and this is probably our last show of the calendar year. So with the holidays coming up, we got, the vacation plans. So we thought it might be worth doing something Christmas related. And since, I love TV so much, what better topic than TV Christmas episodes? But before we get to our top 5 lists, Derek, what pop culture have you been able to take in since last time?
Hey, Chris.
Hi.
As we come into the holiday season, I have actually found myself with an abundance of time to watch stuff.
Oh, good.
And I'm going to start with a Christmas movie.
Oh, okay. Nice.
It's the Christmas season.
Of course.
And away we go. So, Chris, you and I both have a fondness for the Christmas classic, A Christmas Story.
Of course. I love that.
Well,
movie.
they made a sequel. We'll call it a Lega sequel because it's sort of the next generation called.
Now, hold on a second. Last week, I think it was, you mentioned this idea of legacy sequels.
Yes.
Is that what this is like? Where it's like years later, they finally decide to cash in on something that, was years ago, and they call it a Lega. That's what this is.
A Lega
What the
sequel.
hell?
I'm going to talk about 2 of them. But
I don't even think I know about this.
Well, so this one's called A Christmas Story Christmas. It came out last year around this time, obviously.
Okay.
We didn't have a chance to watch it. And then they reran it a bunch of times in January and February. And my wife and I were like, well, we don't want to launch it in February. It's past Christmas. So we recorded it. And we said, we'll save it until this year. So we watched it just tonight. And the idea here is Ralphie from the regular movie, A Christmas Story, is a grown-up. He's got a wife, he's got 2 kids, and 5 minutes into the start of the movie, it's a little bit of a spoiler. 5 minutes in, he gets a call from his mom saying his dad has just died. So he's got to go home to the hometown to spend Christmas with his mom because his dad just passed away. And of course, all the people from the first movie are grown up, and most of them still live in the hometown. So you get to see a lot of those people as adults. And again, like most of these Lega sequels, it's got a lot of the same beats and a lot of the same story elements from the original. But now you get to see them with either his kids in the role that he was when he was a kid, or now he's repeating some of these as an adult. It was a fun little movie. It was cute. It sort of tugged at the heartstrings a bit. It might make you, tear up a bit at the end. It was worth watching. I don't think it's the kind of movie I need to watch every year. I'm glad I had a chance to take a look at it. I think next year I will just watch a regular Christmas Story and I'll be good. But if you enjoyed the first one as much as so many people have, I think this is probably worth a watch at least once. So I think we saw it on HBO Crave here in Canada. If you have the opportunity, A Christmas Story Christmas came out last year, so it's from 2023. I would give it a quick watch. Chris, I assume you have not seen this.
I have not seen it. I have no desire to see it. So let me just ask you a question on this. A couple questions.
Sure.
So the dad dies. He was played by Darren McGavin, who's dead. And then the mom, though, you said called Ralphie and told him, but the mom was played by Melinda Dillon, and she died a couple years ago. So how did they pull this off?
So the mom has been recast. She's the female lead from Airplane.
Oh, Julie Haggerty.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That sucks, though. I mean, like, the parents were one of the best parts of that whole movie. And Melinda Dillon was wonderful in that role. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. There's a lot of, like, flashbacks and callbacks.
Yeah.
But no, it was like I said, it's worth the watch. So then I had a chance to watch another Lega sequel that was a big hit from this past summer called Twisters.
Oh, yeah. I remember hearing about that. That looked dumb, too.
So if you watch the original Twister from the 90s with Helen Hunt, this one is a similar kind of story. The good news is there is no connection to the original movie. It's not like these are the children of those people or this is the same place that got thing. It's just they're leaning on that same idea. And the beats of the story are very much the same beats of the original. This happens, this happens, this happens, much like in the original. This happens, this happens, this happens. Again, it was a fun movie. I enjoyed it. It runs the better part of 90 minutes to 2 hours. The technology has improved considerably in 25 years. So the tornadoes and the special effects look pretty good because it's, obviously the technology's improved. It was again, I would probably give it like a solid B. It's entertaining. You're not going to feel like your life has been improved by watching it, but you're not going to feel like you've wasted 2 hours. So again, I saw it on Crave HBO. If you've got those services and you can get it at no extra cost, give it a look. It was fun. All right. What else did I see this week? I had a chance to watch a real stinker. So normally I tell you all the great things that you should go
Those
watch.
first two didn't qualify as stinkers.
No, those were both pretty good.
Oh, okay.
This is one you should avoid at all costs. So I'm on Netflix and it says, hey, because you like these things, here's something you like. And normally the algorithm's pretty good. So
because you like this Christmas Story crap, here's some more crap.
No, there's nothing related to those.
Okay.
So this movie comes up. It's called Mind Cage. One word, Mind Cage. And it's got John Malkovich. And it's basically a Silence of the Lambs ripoff where John Malkovich has been a serial killer who's been arrested and he's on death row and he's going to be killed in a few weeks. And a copycat killer starts happening. So the local police department has to go and convince him to help them catch the copycat. And sure, it looks like it's going to be a pretty much by the numbers kind of movie, and it was very much a ripoff of Silence of the Lambs. And I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, it wasn't terrible. It's got Martin Lawrence in a small dramatic role. So I'm like, okay, the main woman who's in it, I didn't recognize her, but she's done a lot of TV stuff. I think she was in the show Supernatural for a bunch of seasons. Anyway, I'm watching this movie, and I'm like, it's fine. And then, like, in the last 15 minutes, you find out that the serial killer has superpowers, like out of nowhere, just he has superpowers. And you're like, what the just happened? You're like, are you kidding me? I'm 90 minutes into this movie and suddenly he's Professor X? Like, what is happening? It was so bizarre. So if Mind Cage from 2022 shows up on Netflix as something you should watch, you should not watch it. I was so angry that I wasted almost 2 hours of my life watching this only to have them suddenly at the end go, oh, John Malkovich has superpowers. I'm like, what happened? Like,
God, sounds
you could have at
terrible.
least had him in like a leather spandex suit or something along. So I had a hint that he might be one of the X-Men, but no, they wait until the last 10 minutes of the movie and go, oh, by the way, he has superpowers. You're like, what is happening here? So dumb. Definitely a candidate for worst movie I've seen all year. I was on board until the last 10 to 15 minutes, and then I'm like, no, I'm out. I cannot believe that this is where this movie went. It was just terrible. Don't watch it.
I won't.
All right. Here's one that's right up your alley.
Okay.
I watched the pilot episode of Mork and Mindy this week.
Oh, wow.
It was on TV, just regular TV. I saw it coming on. I recorded it. I had a chance to watch it. Episode 1 and 2. It's a 2-part pilot for Mork and Mindy. It was great. Man, it was, I mean, obviously it's dated, super dated.
Oh,
But
of course.
like, you could definitely see, even from the pilot episode, you're like, Robin Williams is going to be a ridiculous super duper star. And it was fantastic. If you have the ability to go and find this on one of your streamers, it's worth because they run about 20 minutes a piece. It's
Right.
worth the 40 minutes to watch these shows. And Fonzie makes a guest appearance. So if you're a Happy Days fan,
Yes.
there you go.
And I
Yeah.
am.
Yeah, no, it was a nice little
Because
slice
Mork
of
obviously appeared in Happy Days in season 5 and then got a spin-off, got his own show. So, of course, Fonzie had to be there.
yeah.
And I think that's the one where he first meets Mindy in Boulder,
Yes.
Colorado.
Yes.
Colorado, right?
Yeah. No, it was a nice little change
Yeah.
from some of the things we're going on. And then I had a chance to watch a documentary.
For 40 days and 40 nights, he watches documentaries. He likes to learn about the world. It's Derek's Documentaries. Derek's Documentaries.
Oh, educate us, please.
All right. So there's a series called Story of the Songs, and they're 2-hour documentaries that are about like rock bands from the 70s and 80s. And I watched one on Whitesnake like maybe about a month ago.
Oh, that would have been good.
I'm not a huge fan of Whitesnake, and I really don't know much about them except for like some of their big hits. So it was fun. But I had a chance, so I've been recording them. They were on TV one a week, and I have like 8 or 10 episodes on my PVR. And so I recently read, or at least listened on Audible, to the biography by Alex Van Halen called Brothers. And so I had Van Halen on the brain, and there was an episode on Van Halen. So I watched that this week, the Story of Songs, the episode about Van Halen. And again, it runs 2 hours. And it was pretty good. I mean, I'm a huge Van Halen fan. They're one of my all-time favorite bands. I've seen them in concert like 5 or 6 times, some with David Lee Roth, some with Sammy Hagar. I actually saw one tour they did where both of those guys were singing on the same concert, like the same tour. They traded off vocals. It was pretty cool. But yeah, it was interesting.
Sorry, hold on a second. You saw Van Halen when David Lee Roth was in the band?
Well, they did a tour where both Sammy and David were on tour at the same time with the band.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like back, like from like 1984.
No, I didn't get a chance.
I'm like, so what? You were like 6, at the concert?
No.
Okay.
My first Van Halen experience was, I want to say 1990, and they were doing the tour for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, and they were recording their live album. Like that was the first time I saw them in concert, but I've seen them 4 or 5 times since then. But yeah, it was great. I mean, if you're a Van Halen fan, this documentary, again, it's very sort of high level because they cover a lot of stuff. I mean, the band was very popular for a long time, so in 2 hours you can only get through so much stuff. But it was good. They had a lot of good interviews. They had a lot of good behind the scenes footage, and they talked to a lot of people who were relevant to the band, although they don't actually interview the band. But this series, The Story of Songs, if you can find it on one of your on-demand services, like the 2 or 3 episodes I've seen so far are pretty good. I also have ones on there on Bon Jovi, Def Leppard, Guns N' Roses. So I'm looking forward to watching those. So if you're a fan of that sort of late 70s, early 80s rock and roll bands, this series, Story of Songs, is pretty good. You should take a look for it. So
very cool.
Yeah.
All right. So the way things work around here, in case you're new to the podcast, it's pretty simple. I don't watch anything past 1989, so Derek has to keep me up to speed on the world of current pop culture.
Do I ever?
That's the way it's supposed to work, right, bud? But recently, I introduced Derek to a new show. I started watching Somebody Somewhere, and I got him to watch it too. And this week, I want to break ranks again. So I have another new show that I started, and I think that you should watch too, especially you, Derek.
Okay.
It's called A Man on the Inside. It's starring
Ted Danson.
Ted Danson.
Well,
so
I'm hearing good things.
Yeah, so Ted Danson was the hook for me, being as I grew up watching him on Cheers, and he was in Creepshow as well, one of favorite of mine. So you've heard of this show, right?
Oh, yeah. My mom's been watching it. My older relatives have been watching it with great enthusiasm.
So being as I'm older, it just fits right in. So it's on Netflix, and it is amazing. So
really?
Oh, I love it. So as usual, anytime I discover something new, which is very rare, let's be honest, but anytime that I do venture outside of my comfort zone and I watch something new, I usually have to look up information about the cast because they're almost always younger. I'm not familiar with their work. So at least I went into this, I know Ted Danson, so I was all set there. And I recognize Stephanie Beatrice from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, although she's completely different from her character there. She doesn't even look like Rosa Diaz in any way. But one actress I didn't know was the private investigator. She's basically like the lead female role. I'm watching it, and I'm thinking, she really looks like Juno Temple from Ted Lasso. Just with like dark hair and an American accent, but it's not her. The actress's name is Lila Rich Creek Estrada. So I tried finding out more information about her. Most importantly, I was interested to know, is that Eric Estrada's daughter? Eric Estrada from Chips back in the 70s.
Yeah.
There is not a lot of information about her online. She doesn't even have a Wikipedia page. But I looked it up. It's not Eric Estrada's daughter because he has a Wikipedia page. It's not there. So I'm not going to spoil anything about the show other than I just want to say it's amazing. Oh my God.
Is it a drama or a comedy?
It is it's like a drama that has a couple of funny parts in it. But it is, I would say it's for me right now, it's more of a drama, but it might be some of Ted Danson's best work ever of his career.
How long are the episodes?
They're like 25 minutes. They're super
so
short.
It's probably billed as a comedy. Then.
Easy. Which is stupid though. I mean, I don't know why they call some of these, like they call The Bear a comedy. It's not a comedy. Like this isn't a comedy either. I really don't think the last one I had you watch, that Somebody Somewhere, I don't think that's a comedy either. I think it's a drama.
Definitely not.
You know, but they call these shows these things, but I don't know. They are. So anyway, so that's what I think you should watch. So you need to watch this new show with Ted Danson, A Man on the Inside. So there's me breaking ranks, giving you the new stuff. I'm telling you, it's like we're going to flip this podcast on its head going into season 10. I'm telling you. But one thing that will not change is this.
Here's your dad joke of the week.
Since we're doing TV Christmas episodes, I figure I better stay in the holiday spirit and do a dad joke for you. Okay? So Derek... Okay. Why did the pony not participate in the Christmas choir?
I don't know. Why not?
It was a little horse. It's an oldie but a goodie.
I thought there was going to be some joke about him being well hung.
Oh, my.
I've got a can, so I'm opening this up right now.
And I'm a girl drink drunk, so I'm having a Pop Shop cream soda.
Oh, that's a good one.
That has Chris's stamp all over it. Yeah,
You mean The Phantom Menace?
Oh!
I'm not a fan of the prequels.
Okay, fair enough.
I used to be a somewhat successful podcaster in the world of fantasy baseball.
Go Ducks!
Oh man.
All right, Derek, so we mentioned Christmas is just around the corner, and we thought it might be worthwhile taking a look at some of our favorite Christmas-themed TV episodes of all time. And this topic was actually your idea, so maybe you can just start things off by giving us an overview of this topic and why you thought it might be worth taking a look at, maybe some parameters for us. You want to take it away?
Yeah, I mean, pretty broad topic, but we definitely had to set a few ground rules. So this time last year, we did a lot of movie reviews on Christmas movies, and I think that was great. That's fine, but we talked about it. We didn't really want to just keep doing that every Christmas, because honestly, a lot of podcasts do that, and most of us have seen all those Christmas movies a bunch of times. So why am I going to listen to a podcast about a movie that I've seen a dozen times? What am I going to get out of it? So I'm watching some TV earlier this week, and sure enough, all these Christmas movies are on TV, and I keep thinking to myself, we already did a bunch of podcasts about these. And I'm trying to think of what topics can we do. And then I realized a lot of my favorite shows are airing a lot of their Christmas episodes, or shows that maybe aren't even in heavy rotation anymore are making a point of just showing their Christmas episodes over the holiday season. And I thought, have we never done this before? And I literally had to go back through our archives. And I'm like, oh my God, we have never done an episode about Christmas TV episodes. So you and I chatted a little bit, and we said, well, we're not talking about like specials, because some shows will do like, oh, you know, we're a 90-minute or a 30-minute sitcom, but we're going to do a special 90-minute episode that's a Christmas special. And this was a big thing like in the 70s and 80s. They would do it outside of the normal 20-episode rotation. They would do a special Christmas episode. We're like, we're not talking about that. We're talking about like just
like a Very Brady Christmas.
Very Brady Christmas is one of the ones we talked about.
Because Brady Bunch went off the air in like 74, and then like 14 years later, they come out with this TV special.
Absolutely.
I will say though, it does hold a special place in my heart,
as it does for many people. And so we said, like, you know, we're not looking for these sort of one-off things. We're looking for.
Sorry, I just want to go back to the Brady one, because something just came to mind. They brought back the whole original cast for that, except for Cindy, Susan Olsen. They replaced her with Jennifer Runyon. Do you remember her? She was in Ghostbusters and Charles in Charge. She played Gwendolyn Pierce.
If you say so.
Yeah, so they replaced her. But other than that, they brought back the whole cast for the Brady Christmas one. But I understand. Like, we didn't want to go with those specials.
So we said, okay, so, and then one of the things we realized was a lot of our favorite shows, a lot of shows that were very popular, especially shows that ran a long time, would often do a Christmas episode every year. Maybe not the first season. Some shows sort of as they're finding their legs, or if they're a mid-season replacement, they're like, you know what, we only have so many episodes. Let's not bog it down with a Christmas episode. We're just trying to get a foothold and get our show renewed. So a lot of shows in season 1 don't do a Christmas episode. They're too busy just trying to like get you familiar with the characters and the premise. But if there's shows that get picked up and run a couple of seasons, they tend to do Christmas episodes and Thanksgiving episodes over and over again every year. And so I found when I was starting to do the homework for this episode, I would look up a show and it would say, oh, they did 6 Christmas episodes. I'm like, oh my God, really? And then you got to look through them all and go, oh yeah, that one was my favorite, or that one was head and shoulders better than the rest of them. So, and most popular shows did it. So there was a very large quantity of shows that we could have chosen to do. I'm hoping that we don't have overlap, but like we've said before, we don't know each other's lists, but we send it to a neutral third party to make sure there's no overlap, and I didn't get the red flag. So I think you've got 5 different ones than I have.
You know, another one I just want to mention, I know it's not a TV series with a Christmas episode, but it did take place on TV just because I was there when it came out. I just want to give a mention to the Star Wars Christmas special.
Good call.
So in November of 1978, if you were an 8-year-old kid like I was, you could not get enough of Star Wars. Like, remember, this is before they had streaming services or DVDs or even VHS. You saw Star Wars in the theater, and then that was it. Although I did have this one little thing. It was like this little blue fake movie camera thing that you would crank the wheel on the side of it. And when you looked into it, it played like a small, like 6-second long scene from Star Wars. Mine was the TIE Fighter fight with the Millennium Falcon. But, you know, otherwise, you had books or, you know, you collected bubblegum cards. Other than that, there was no access to Star Wars. So when the Star Wars holiday special came out, it was huge, right? And man, did it ever suck. It was like the disappointment of the prequels before the prequels, you know? And it was about Chewbacca going home to his home planet for the Life Day. And his son Lumpy is with him, and like Diane Carroll's in it, and B. Arthur, like she runs the Mos Eisley Cantina. She's the bartender. It is so bad. But it aired in November of 1978 and was never broadcast again. It's not available anywhere. Not on DVD streaming, nothing. But when you were a kid in 1978, it was really, really huge. But other than that, we want to talk about TV episodes like that are on existing, ongoing, episodic television series. And they had like an episode about Christmas. Before we get into our top 5 list, I just want to mention, I could have done a top 25 list.
Yeah,
there are many.
A ridiculous amount of shows and then episodes within those shows to choose from. Some are more directly Christmas episodes. Some just take place at Christmas time and really don't have a lot to do with Christmas. But when you type this into the search prompt in Google, a ridiculous amount of search hits come up, like in the hundreds.
A couple of honorable mentions I want to give out there, if I could, because I had so many.
Oh, I got some too. Why don't you start? Yeah.
So I'll start with one and we'll throw it over to you. We'll go back and forth. I want to mention the $6 Million Man. He had a bionic Christmas Carol in 1976, and it starred Ray Walston, you know, Mr. Hand from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Mm-hmm. And he plays this old rich white dude whose company is like a government supplier or something. And his nephew, Dick Sargent, the second Darren on Bewitched, by the way. Dick Sargent is basically like the Bob Cratchit of the story. I want to give a shout out to the Bionic Christmas Carol, because that was it was one of the first times I remember as a kid watching TV and like, they're doing a Christmas episode. This is interesting. So that was one of mine. What do you got?
So I got a couple of episodes that people might be surprised don't actually make my list. And largely it's because I didn't personally love them. I'm not denying that they are important and recognizable Christmas episodes, just that they weren't going to make my list, but I do feel they need to be acknowledged. So the first one is the episode of Community from their second season. It was called Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas. And what makes this one so memorable is the entire episode was done in claymation. And it was sort of a throwback and homage to those, what are they called? The Rankin Bass Christmas specials. Yes. Because like the whole thing, there was the Island of Misfit Toys. So the characters in this all end up getting sort of, you know, because it's claymation, they make them all look like toys, and like one is the robot and one is the Jack in the Box, and one, like, again, it sort of parallels those classic Christmas cartoons. Again, I watched Community when it was on. I have rewatched it years later. I liked the show. I enjoy the humor. This episode just didn't really do it for me for whatever reason. And I actually rewatched it just this week because I thought, well, I don't really remember it. Maybe I'll rewatch it again. It'll spark some special magic. It was fine, but it wasn't for me. But I know a lot of people, when I mentioned this to some of my friends, were doing Christmas episodes. They went, oh my God, you got to do that episode Community where the claymation. I'm going to give it an honorable mention. I can't include it in my top 5, but I want to recognize that it's an important episode to a lot of people.
I have an honorable mention. I want to get out there. The Fall Guy from 1985. There was an episode called Escape Clause.
That's 2 Lee Majors in a row, man.
I know. It's another Lee Majors Christmas show, but this time Colt Seavers helps Santa Claus escape from like these bad guys that stole these like government bonds, and then Santa returns them to the government, and he uses the reward money to help an orphanage from shutting down. So it was like very heartfelt. So
it's like on Scrooge.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lee.
Kinda.
This is one Santa that's going through the front door.
So there you go.
All right.
Another honorable mention?
Second honorable mention for me.
Yeah.
And this one, but my wife flagged immediately. And again, I rewatched, and because it's a show I didn't really watch in the moment, I couldn't put on my list, but it's Mr. Bean. From his first season. It's called Merry Christmas, Mr. Bean. Now you think, oh, I'm familiar with Mr. Bean's work, and a lot of people are. This is the one where he has the giant turkey on his head. And you think, wait, wasn't that Joey from Friends? No, Mr. Bean did it first. And so you're like, oh, I totally remember that. Again, my association with Mr. Bean is way after it originally aired. I'm familiar with a lot of his best sketches. But again, I don't have a personal connection to this. I did rewatch it. It's available on YouTube. It's from 1992, and it's fine. It's a good example of Mr. Bean, but it just, again, I couldn't put it on my list, but I did want to acknowledge it. So the Merry Christmas, Mr. Bean, where he's got the giant turkey on his head, I acknowledge that one's out there, just not on my list. So honorable mention for me.
I got another old one. When I was a kid, I loved the show Alice. Just something about that show I loved. I love the fact that they would actually talk with like accents. Well, Flo did. She had that Southern accent, which is very weird on TV. Like usually people don't talk with an accent. Although Vera didn't talk with an accent, neither did Mel. But Alice did, but hers was like a Boston accent. So anyway, I just thought it was interesting. But the episode I want to mention is Mel's Christmas Carol. It was from 1981, season 6. And Mel wants all of the waitresses to work on Christmas Eve. And they're like, we're not working on Christmas Eve. So he fires them. And then the ghost of his former partner appears and he hires them all back. Again, it was like that Christmas Carol theme just keeps popping up.
Yeah, we're gonna see that over and over again in some of my picks, and I'm sure in some of your picks.
Do you have any other honorable mentions?
Yeah, so it's sort of a twofer. So I just want to mention that one of the things that I really enjoy is when a Christmas theme or a Christmas episode is carried forward through multiple seasons. And every season when they have a new Christmas episode, they acknowledge what happened in the last Christmas episode.
Okay.
And this specifically comes up a lot in animated shows. So both Futurama and American Dad do this very well, where with Futurama, they have the robot Santa who basically wants to kill everybody on Christmas, so everyone has to hide. And that robot Santa has come in multiple seasons of the show. And every year when they do a Christmas episode, they clearly acknowledge and reference what's happened the season before. The other one is American Dad, where the same thing. The Smith family has done something early in the Christmas episodes to basically put them at odds with Santa. And so for many seasons, Santa was a villain to that family. And then as the story progressed, Stan's dad ends up becoming Krampus, and like it's this ongoing saga where you only get an update to the story once a year in their Christmas episode. But if you actually watch every Christmas episode back to back, it makes perfect sense. They pick up exactly where the last one let off, but they don't acknowledge any of that stuff in the in-between episodes. And I think it's a real credit to the writing team that they take the care to make sure all those details match. So I want to just sort of give that shout out as an honorable mention to both Futurama and American Dad. Not any one specific Christmas episode, but the fact that multiple Christmas episodes connect year after year in a way that makes perfect sense.
I want to do one last honorable mention, which is a twofer as well. And it's Wonder Woman. So in 1977, there was an episode called The Deadly Toys. And in 78, they did an episode called Pot of Gold. And both of them was their attempt at doing like a Christmas thing. Really, I didn't love them that much. I just wanted to mention them so we could play the theme. I love doing that around here. Okay, so what do you say we kick things off with our top 5 list? Now we're getting down in the nitty gritty. We'll start with your number 5 TV holiday episode of all time. Take us away.
All right. I want to say before I jump into my list, one of the caveats that I was going to suggest to you is that we can't do any animated shows or cartoons. But there are so many good primetime animated shows that have become very popular in the last 20 years that I kind of felt we'd be handcuffing ourselves and eliminating some of the best possibilities. So
we're definitely not going to go with old stuff like the Flintstones, because the Flintstones had a Christmas special, but like they're prehistoric. What are they celebrating?
Yeah, no,
it's before Jesus. There's no Christmas. Why are you celebrating Christmas? So definitely more newer animated shows are okay.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to start with what is the most obvious pick, The Simpsons, season 1. Episode 1.
The very first episode, right?
It's called Simpsons Roasting on an Open Fire. It aired on December 17th, 1989. This is literally the first episode.
Yep.
It's where Homer goes on to be the mall Santa. They end up getting Santa's little helper, the dog, at the end of the episode. Again,
because he was in the race, right?
Yeah. He's got a hot tip on the dog, and then he finds that Santa's little helper. He tries to bet on him, and of course he loses. But then at the end of the episode, he gets the dog, and the family's all jazzed. He's got a dog for Christmas, and Santa's little helper is still in The Simpsons all these years later. Like it's they obviously kept that. Now, again, was the first season of The Simpsons their best season? No. Some of the animation was a little weird. The voices, they hadn't really found their footing on some of that stuff. But again, The Simpsons has been on for, I want to say, 37 or 38 seasons. Like, it's been around a long time. This is the very first one. So anytime we're going to do a show about Christmas episodes, the list is not complete without the very first episode of The Simpsons. So my number 5 pick is the pilot, the season 1, episode 1 episode of The Simpsons, Simpsons Roasting on an Open Fire.
I like that one. That's a good one. Yeah. Okay, my number 5, I'm going to go with Different Strokes. It's called Retrospective. It's from season 1. It's episode 8 and 9. It was a 2-parter. So this was in December of 1978, just after the Star Wars holiday special, I would like to point out. What a time to be alive, Derek, let me tell you. So, like I say, it's a 2-parter, but the thing was, the reason why I mentioned this, there had only been 7 episodes of the show at that point. 7. And they do a retrospective made up of clips from the first 7 episodes. I was like, what? So the idea in this show is, in this episode, they can't sleep. It's Christmas Eve. So they spend all their time reminiscing. And Kimberly's like, oh, you remember that time when Arnold put his fish in the hot tub? And I'm thinking, yeah, it happened last week. Come on. So, but I had to include this one on my list because I mentioned before, my sons love watching Different Strokes on DVD. When we go up to the trailer, like they just love that show. And season 1 is by far the best season of that show. I just felt that it was funny how they went with a retrospective so soon into the series. Usually it's after like 5 seasons or something, but they did it right away on their Christmas episode. And so it made my list. It's number 5. What do you got for number 4?
All right. Excuse me. We're gonna stick with animated shows.
Oh,
so
okay.
If there had never been a Simpsons, you would never have a Family Guy. And Family Guy is one of those shows that does Christmas episodes almost every season. But they are pretty loosey-goosey. They're not necessarily connected to one another. But one of my personal favorite Family Guy Christmas episodes from season 9. It was episode 7. I guess it was 7.1 and 7.2 because it was 2 episodes, but they called them both episode 7. It was called Road to the North Pole. So Family Guy had discovered that they did a whole bunch of episodes that were sort of in the same vein as those Bob Hope movies, like The Road to Whatever. And they would have Brian and Stewie go on an adventure, and it would be all sorts full of musical numbers. And so this is one of those. It's called Road to the North Pole. All those ones are called Road to something. And in this one, they literally go to the North Pole because Stewie's all upset he didn't get what he wanted for Christmas. And they find out that commercialism has basically killed Santa's workshop. All the elves are like inbred mutants that are like, fighting, and Santa's all sick because the true spirit of Christmas has died. And it's all about consumerism, and people just want stuff. And the first, it's 2 episodes. The first episode is pretty grim and pretty dark. And then in the second episode, Brian and Stewie basically have to deliver all the presents because Santa can't do it. And, everyone finds the spirit of Christmas, rah, 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 as you would expect. But it is also a musical, as so many other episodes are, where they have a lot of great musical numbers. This one actually had a musical number, a song piece called Christmas Time is Killing Us. And it's sung by the elves. And it actually won an Emmy. Oh, wow. And it's one of the only awards that this show has ever won. It's never won like best cartoon, best animated, anything, but it won for best music, best song. And they've done a lot of Christmas episodes, and many of them are much more uplifting and joyful. But this one to me is them really taking a big swing, and they got acknowledged and they got rewarded with an award. So I got to give them this one. So my number 4 pick is Family Guy, Road to the North Pole. It aired in 2010. And it was in their season 9, episode 7.1 and 7.2.
I got one for you. So my number 4 is an animated show as well.
Oh.
Yeah, and it happened after 1989. I'm going with South Park, Mr. Hanky, the Christmas Boo.
Of course.
It was from season 1, episode 9. It debuted on December the 17th of 1997. So Kyle, he feels like an outsider at Christmas because he's Jewish. So he becomes friends with a talking piece of poo called Mr. Hanky, who wears a Santa hat. And the scenes in it they made me laugh. There was a couple of scenes that just stood out. So one scene that I still think it's so funny when I think about it. When Kyle decides to take Mr. Hanky out of the sewer and up to the surface to meet the world, he's got to convince Mr. Hanky to go. Mr. Hanky doesn't want to go because he would dry out if he goes to the surface, right? He's going to die. So he finally agrees to go, and he's like, just let me get my toothbrush. Like a piece of poo would need to brush his teeth. Like, come on. So that made me laugh. And then the other scene, they take him up, and Mr. Hanky dries out, and he's dying. And he says to Kyle, he's like, come closer. There's something I want to tell you. Closer. This one time, I put myself in your mouth and had my friend take a picture. And he dies. It's like, so that was pretty funny. And then he comes to life again. He's like, no, wait. There's something else I must tell you. Come closer. There is another Skywalker. And he dies. So, and then when he dies, there's a voice that sounds like Jimmy Durante from the animated Frosty special. Mm-hmm. He's like, Mr. Hanky, the Christmas Pooh, he loved me, I love you, therefore vicariously, he loved you. I'm like, who wrote this song? It's just so crazy. And then they brought him back a couple more times, on the show. Like, there was a really good one. I think it was called A Very Crappy Christmas, where Mr. Hanky sings a spoof of the Lion King song. He calls it The Circle of Pooh. It's like the poo of the antelope, the poo of the giraffe. But the best episode of Mr. Hanky was the first one from season 1, and it's my number 4 of all-time favorite Christmas TV episodes. So, on to your number 3.
Hi-yo, everybody.
Yeah, that's what he does. Exactly. You got it.
Nice. Good pick.
Yep.
All right. So I'm going to go with a very popular show, a very popular episode, and that's the Christmas episode from Friends that's called The One with the Holiday Armadillo. It aired in December of 2000. So one of the things that makes this so distinct is Ross on Friends is obviously Jewish, and he's worried that his son doesn't really have the information, the knowledge, the education about what Hanukkah is. All he keeps getting is Christmas, Christmas, Christmas. So he wants to teach him about Hanukkah, and the kid is obviously resistant. And so I can't remember the specifics because it's been a while since I saw it, but Ross wants to teach him about Christmas. So he wants to, or teach him about Hanukkah, and he wants to get a costume to do it. And for whatever reason, all he can get is an armadillo costume. So like Ross shows up and he's like, I'm the holiday armadillo. And he starts telling him all these stories about like of the Jewish people and blah, blah, blah. And then Joey, wanting to be helpful, also had the idea to rent a costume, but for whatever reason can only find a Superman costume. So Joey shows up halfway through the episode dressed as Superman, and you're like, okay, where is this going? And it's just this bizarre yet hilarious scene. And then later on, there's like a recap where he's like, and you know, the holiday armadillo is like, and that's when this happens, and the Jews were brought to here, carried by Superman, because he has to keep injecting Superman into the story so the kids will pay attention. And Joey just keeps like smiling and nodding like, yeah, Superman did that. I'm Superman. So, I mean, if you ask people, do you remember the Friends Christmas episode? I guarantee this is the one they're thinking of. It was awesome. It was some things with Friends haven't held up as well over the years. A lot of people love this show. A lot of people have seen the entire run multiple times. I was sort of lukewarm to it. I didn't really watch it as much till the later seasons, just really because my wife watched it. But this episode is a really strong one, and they air at this time of year all along. So my number 3 pick is the episode from Friends, season 7, episode 10, aired on December 14th, 2000. It's called The One with the Holiday Armadillo.
I'm glad you mentioned Friends as such a popular show from the 90s. I'm going with another popular sitcom from the 90s, and that's Seinfeld. For my number 3, I'm going with The Strike. It's from season 9, episode 10. The episode really should have been called The Festivus.
Yes,
you know,
sure.
Every single Seinfeld episode, except for the pilot and episode 4, started with the word "the." But this one, like I say, should have been called The Festivus, but it's called The Strike. So I know you're not a huge Seinfeld fan, Derek, but you've obviously seen this episode. I can tell by your reaction.
Oh, absolutely. I've seen, and when we talked about this topic, I thought, if this is not on your list, I'm adding it to mine. So I when we got my wife was the neutral third party, I said, did Chris put Seinfeld on there? She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, good. Then I don't have to mention it.
And I've mentioned before, like a lot of TV shows go through an arc. Like they usually start off weak and then they get strong, they find their legs, and then they just peter out. I always felt that the final season 9, was the best season of Seinfeld. You know,
it was very strong.
Oh, it had the 4-story format just down pat. It was funny and had some really good plot lines. But my favorite from that year was this episode, where you find out Frank Costanza doesn't celebrate Christmas. He celebrates Festivus. And the thing is, the writer of the episode, his name was Dan O'Keefe. His family actually invented Festivus as this secular, non-commercial holiday, and they'd been celebrating it since like the 60s.
Wow.
So he included it in the show. So instead of a Christmas tree, there's an aluminum pole. And the 2 major features of Festivus include the feats of strength.
Yep.
Like Festivus isn't over until you pin me. And of course, the airing of grievances. And my favorite is when Frank Costanza goes off on George's boss and he's like, Kruger, you couldn't smooth a silk sheet if you had a hot date with a babe. I lost my train of thought. So, great episode. Love it. That is my number 3 Christmas episode. So
good pick. I'm a little surprised that wasn't higher up on your list, because that would have definitely been in my.
You'll know when you hear my number 2 and my number 1.
Yeah, I kind of got an idea where your list may be going.
It's me.
So we already talked about how a lot of shows lean on the trope of a Christmas Carol, where a character in the show decides to be Mr. Scrooge and is Grumpy Gus and does something silly and you know, evil, if you will, and then a ghost of some sort or an angel of some sort shows them, you know, what could have been. And I guess it's sort of like also It's a Wonderful Life, same idea, right? Where it's that sort of what if a ghost or an angel or someone comes to them and says, like, this is how your life might have been different if you had only done something. So I'm gonna talk about one of my favorite Christmas, and this is a little bit of a stretch here, one of my favorite episodes from one of the shows from. So believe it or not, this aired the exact same night as the Simpsons episode 1 that we just talked about.
Oh, wow.
This is Married with Children, season 4, episode 11, aired the exact same night as The Simpsons, December 17th, 1989. And it's called... It's
on the same network, too, by the way.
Same network, probably back to back.
Yeah.
It's called It's a Bundiful Life, hence their name was Bundy. So it's instead of A Wonderful Life, it's A Bundiful Life. And in this one, Al Bundy is visited by an angel played by Sam Kinison.
Oh,
and it's a parody of A Wonderful Life where Sam Kinison shows Al Bundy how things would be different if he had never existed or if he was dead. And everybody that is associated with Al Bundy's life has a much better life with Al not in it. His family is well off. They're well educated. They're rich. They don't want for a single thing. They have all sorts of money and affluence. Their neighbors are perfect. And at the end of the episode, Al is so angry that their life is so good without him that out of spite, he wants to go back and be who he was just so that they don't have a good life without him. And it's so funny and so perfect for the way that these characters have been doing. Because you figure by now we're in season 4. We know these characters.
Right.
And it's just absolutely exactly what you... And even the angel's like, I can't give you any good reasons to go back. Now that I see this, you know what? Let's just bring you to heaven. And he's like, not a chance. I'm going back to make their life terrible because my life was terrible when I lived it, and they don't deserve an awesome life just because I'm not there. Send me back so that I can continue to make their life miserable. And it's like the exact opposite of how this kind of a story usually works. But that's what Married with Children did so well. They were like, in many cases, first to the plate. They just took an idea and ran it in the opposite direction you would expect. I'd never seen anything like this before. Very few shows have successfully pulled this off since, but it was just done so well for these characters, knowing who they were. Yes, that's the only way you could have ended this episode. And Sam Kinison as the angel, like that was just perfect casting.
Great,
so
yeah.
This is my number 2 pick. The episode was called It's a Bundiful Life, from December 17th, 1989, the literal same night that the first episode of The Simpsons aired. It's like, talk about a 1-2 punch.
Yeah, very cool.
It's my number 2 pick.
Like it. Okay, my number 2, I'm going to go with Happy Days. Christmas
Time.
No way. I know. The episode's called Christmas Time from season 6, episode 16. It came out on December the 19th of 1978. Not much to say here, Derek. You know how much I love Fonzie. Henry Winkler's my all-time idol. A few years ago, my wife got me the gift of meeting him one-on-one, and he mentioned that his favorite episode of Happy Days was this one. So in this episode, Howard comes home with an aluminum Christmas tree, and everyone hates it, right? And all through the episode, people keep bringing real trees in, and the house gets full of them and everything. And then Fonzie comes over, and he's at the Cunninghams, which he'd been doing since season 1, by the way, when Richie found out that Fonzie was going to be alone and brought him over. But in this episode, Fonzie gets a package delivered, and it's from his dad, who he hasn't spoken to in years, and he refuses to open it. And then finally he opens it up, and it's got a letter in it with basically his dad apologizing for abandoning him. And, it was really good. It's sort of that typical Christmas-related storyline of trying to reconcile with your family, but mostly it's good because it's got Fonzie. So that's my number 2. I'm going with Happy Days. Nice. No surprise. So
yeah.
On to your number 1.
Very on brand for you.
Yeah, it is.
I'm actually a little surprised that wasn't your number 1, and I'm kind of curious as to where your number 1's going to go. But
you'll know when I give you my number 1. You'll be like, okay.
I mean, I have a pretty good guess, but I don't want to ruin your number 1 if I'm right. So, all right. So I'm the newer guy. I got all the, educating Chris on newer things. So I had to pick a show that's a little more recent for my number 1 pick. And I'm going with one of the shows that I've enjoyed the most over the last decade, and that's The Big Bang Theory. Now, they have done a number of great Christmas episodes, but without a doubt, hands down, their absolute best Christmas episode was done in their second season, was episode 11. It aired on December 15th, 2008. And the episode was called The Bath Item Gift Hypothesis. And what most people will remember this episode for is Penny gives Sheldon a napkin that Leonard Nimoy has signed because he came into the Cheesecake Factory where she worked, and she knew that Sheldon loved Leonard Nimoy, and she asked Leonard Nimoy to sign the napkin. What we then find out is that the napkin is dirty because Leonard Nimoy rubbed his mouth on it, which blows Sheldon's mind because he's like, I have Leonard Nimoy's DNA on this napkin. He's more that Leonard Nimoy has wiped his mouth with the napkin than the fact that he signed it, which Penny is oblivious to. And Sheldon just loses his mind. And that's the culmination of the episode. And then the very, very end, like we all know that by this point that Sheldon is like averse to being touched, and he like hugs Penny, and she's like, oh my God, look, Leonard, Sheldon's hugging me. Like everybody who has watched this show knows this episode. It has so many good lines. It is start to finish. There's no, sometimes you watch a show and you're like, oh, this secondary story is terrible. This one is not. This one is great from start to finish. It has so many good lines. One of the lines that really resonated with me is that when Penny gives Sheldon a gift, she says, hey, I've got you something for Christmas. She hands him a wrapped gift, and he goes, oh, no, I can't accept this. And she's like, no, it's Christmas. I bought you a gift. And he goes, you haven't given me a gift. You've given me an obligation. And then he goes on about like the idea of reciprocating gifts and the perceived value of the gifts. And that's part of the humor. But at the same time, I find more and more as I get a little older and a little crotchetier and a little more stay off my lawn. That's sort of how I feel. It's like I have my set group of people that I generally exchange gifts with. And when I get a gift from someone else, hey, that's great. The thought is awesome. Thank you for thinking me. But now in my back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh, crap, now I got to buy this person a gift. Well, I wonder how much they spent on me. Well, okay, it was probably about $20. Well, what if it was more like $50? Well, what if it was something they made homemade? I don't know. So I really find that speaks to me, the whole thing where Sheldon's like, you haven't given me a gift. You've given me an obligation. As I get older and older, man, oh man, does that line resonate. But that aside, sorry, I'm just going off on a tangent here, crushy old man. This episode is so good for so many reasons. Even when they go shopping, Howard and Raj and Sheldon go shopping to try and get something for Penny. And they go to like the body shop to get like lotions and soaps and stuff. That sequence, although it's sort of a throwaway in the middle of the episode to try and get you to the payoff at the end, is so funny. This episode is fantastic. So my number one, The Big Bang Theory, the bath item gift hypothesis, where Sheldon gets the Leonard Nimoy napkin. It's my number one pick. No question.
I like how you mentioned the important part of that was like every part of the episode was good. It was strong all the way through.
Yeah.
And for me, that was what I wanted to go with my number one. I wanted it to be like an episode that was like from start to finish. It's just so good. And it just keeps going. So really on brand for me, I'm going with WKRP in Cincinnati.
Oh, I was going to say The Love Boat. I'm like, The Love Boat had to have done a Christmas episode, but
they
no,
did.
WKRP,
They did multiple ones, but I'm going with WKRP. So in season 2, episode 11, December the 17th, 1979, Jennifer's Home for Christmas debuted. And so the thing is, WKRP didn't do a Christmas episode in season 1 because the show actually went on a short hiatus between November and January. So in season 2, they did a Christmas episode. And it's so good. So the station's getting ready for Christmas, but they all get wind that Jennifer's going to be home alone for the holiday. And they're all like going different places. But they're like, we can't let her be alone, So one by one, they all show up at her apartment, and each one of them brings a Christmas tree, except Herb, of course. He brings mistletoe.
Of course, that's on brand.
And when Johnny and Venus show up, Johnny's like, in the spirit of Christmas, we killed a tree for you, And then Les comes in and he says to Jennifer, he's like, Herb told me I had to wait in the car while he gave you your Christmas goose. And he's like, where is the Christmas goose? And then, but I like this because like the show, number one, I love because it's one of my all-time favorite casts of a TV show. Mm-hmm. And this episode allows them to all be together in the same place for a good chunk of the episode. Because first they're in the bullpen for the office party and then at Jennifer's apartment. And this episode, like the show in general, is very character driven, So that's what made the show so good. So it opens up with Johnny in the DJ booth and he's playing Christmas songs and he's wearing earplugs because he hates it. and then Andy wants Les to do reports on Santa's sleigh, being spotted on the way to Cincinnati. Yeah. And Les is like, he thinks that's beneath him because he's an award-winning newscaster. He's like, the news isn't cute, Andy. And then Herb has Lucille's whole family move into his house for the holiday. And he comes to work. He's like, I took a shower with a bald-headed man this morning. And then Venus dresses up as Santa Claus. It's just an all-around amazing episode. But the thing is, Jennifer wasn't planning on being alone. She gets picked up and gets whisked off to Bethlehem by this old sugar daddy, played by George Gaines. Do you remember him from Tootsie? And he was Commandant Lassard from Police Academy.
Yeah, from Police Academy. Yeah,
so he comes into the scene and he speaks fluent French. And it's like, what? And then Andy says to Jennifer, he's like, you never told us you speak French. And she's like, I don't. which I think kind of put things in perspective of her whole character. It's a great episode. There's like laughs in it from start to finish. And then at the very, very end, it's kind of cool because Herb has his mistletoe and he's like she realizes that they all came there just because they cared about her. They didn't want her to be alone. So she says to Herb, she's like, grab that mistletoe and hold it up over your head. And she gives him a big kiss. Nice. And then he's like, man, Christmas just gets better every year. And it just ends. It's just such a great episode. I love it. It's a good one. So that's my number one. So
nice. I like that on your list you had a show that plays in Milwaukee and a show that took place in Cincinnati.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Some of the better cities there. So we got that. All right. What do you say that we have some
fun with Caveman?
All right, man. I want to do some good old fashioned trivia with you, And the thing is, like, what would any good Christmas story be? What any story be, for that matter, without a villain? Okay.
Ooh, okay.
Every story needs a bad guy. Christmas is no different. So whether it's a TV episode or a holiday special or a movie, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to give you some trivia about Christmas villains. Okay. Let's see if you can get these. Okay. So some of them are pretty easy, but some of them are hard. So I'm gonna challenge you. We'll start with an easy one. What iconic Star Wars villain was first introduced in a short animated segment in the 1978 Star Wars Christmas special?
Oh, I know this. That was Boba Fett.
Yes. That animated short was produced by Canada's Nelvana Animation Studio.
Cool.
They produced previously before they did an animated special called A Cosmic Christmas. And Lucas liked it so much he hired them to do this.
Wow.
In the holiday special. I remember going to my neighbor's house in like 1976 and we watched A Cosmic Christmas on a film projector.
Wow.
I know. God,
you are really dating yourself here, pal.
I know. All right. In the Christmas classic, A Christmas Carol, how many ghosts is Ebenezer Scrooge visited by on Christmas Eve?
Ooh, well, okay. So it's the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future, but he's also visited by is it Bob Cratchit? So I'm going to say 4.
Yes, he is visited by the spirit, the spirit of Christmas past, present, and Christmas yet to come, but also his former business partner, Jacob Marley.
Marley, not Cratchit. Yeah. It's a ghost at the beginning. I think that's the one people would forget about. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The story, I love how the story is basically a rich white man has to be terrified into providing a living wage to his employees.
Yeah, no kidding.
Such a nice Christmas message, isn't it? Just It's heartwarming.
And it still holds true today.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. Okay, it's hard to believe, but Hans Gruber in Die Hard was the movie debut of Alan Rickman. He was so good in that movie. So he was so good as the villain that a saying has emerged over the years. It's not Christmas until you see Hans Gruber fall from what building?
The Nakatomi Tower.
Also known as the Nakatomi Plaza, which was actually portrayed in the film by Fox Plaza. I don't know if you know where that.
I don't.
It's the home of 20th Century Fox. That's the building.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, believe it or not. Okay, so in the Christmas classic, It's a Wonderful Life, the town of Bedford Falls is run by a miserly old man who hoards money and is evil to the core. He even steals George's lost money at one point. Derek, what is the name of this evil character played by Lionel Barrymore?
His name is... Okay, you got to give me a second. His name is... crap. It's on the tip of my tongue. I'm not going to get it in time. I don't know.
Mr. Potter.
Oh my God. How did I not get that?
And the thing is, I swear in 2024, the people would side with Mr. Potter over George Bailey.
Yeah,
these days.
probably.
It's and the thing is too, what's interesting about that one is that Mr. Potter is one of those rare villains. He never has to pay for his crimes.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, unless you've seen the outtake from Saturday Night Live where they're
Yes,
like,
the
"Scene
SNL
that you've
sketch."
oh my God, it's so good.
They go back and they beat the living shit
Beat
out of
the
him.
crap out of him. Yeah.
They drag him out of the wheelchair and they just thump the beat Jesus out of him. That was good.
Yep.
Okay, so in the animated Christmas special, Frosty the Snowman. Okay. Frosty is brought to life by the discarded hat of a bumbling magician. What is the name of the magician who schemes to steal back his hat?
I don't know. Oh my God, I don't know.
You're not a big Christmas guy like I am. Who would
No,
know
I
this
don't
stuff?
know. Let's say
This stuff rolls off my tongue.
Mr. Abracadabra. I don't know.
It's Professor Hinkle. Professor
Sure.
Hinkle. So, staying with the Christmas specials, in 1966, the animated TV special How the Grinch Stole Christmas debuted. Who provided the voiceover for the narration?
I don't know. I've never seen it.
Oh, you've never seen How the Grinch Stole Christmas?
No, it look.
Oh my God.
I'm not wasting my time on it.
It's Boris Karloff. So you obviously then don't know the follow-up question.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Who provided the singing voice of the song You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch?
Yeah, I don't know. Taylor Swift. I don't know.
No, it's Thurl Ravenscroft. He also provided the voice of Tony the Tiger in those TV commercials
okay.
from the 70s and 80s. You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. Okay, in Home Alone, the Wet Bandits were played by Joe Pesci and Daniel Stern. Do you remember their real on-screen characters' names?
No. Saw the movie once. Didn't like it.
Harry and Marv.
Sure.
Harry was Joe Pesci and Marv was Daniel Stern. Okay, in Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the evil monster was eventually redeemed by removing his teeth, thanks Hermie, and the evil monster was none other than the Abominable Snowman. But he was given this nickname. Can you name it?
Was it not just Abominable?
Bumble.
Sure.
See, you
I've
don't-
seen these shows since I was like 10.
Oh, see, I watched
I
them.
don't have kids. I have no reason to rewatch them.
Even when I didn't have kids, even before I got married and had kids, I watched these every year by myself. I loved them. Okay, this 2015, this is more in your wheelhouse.
There you go. Okay, let's get this.
This 2015 black comedy horror film starred Adam Scott and Toni Collette and featured a horned demon that punishes naughty children at Christmas time. Can you name the film?
I'll take a wild guess and say Krampus.
That is correct. You got it. See, you got
That
this.
was literally a guess. I had no idea.
Okay, although this movie shares the title of another Christmas film starring Michael Keaton, in this version, the title character is the embodiment of a serial killer who continues his killing spree throughout the fictional town of Snowminton. Derek,
I remember this
can you name the
because
movie?
we had it at Blockbuster. Yeah, it's called Jack Frost.
I've never seen the Michael Keaton one, but I've seen this one, and I like this one. It is like a low-budget horror, but it's good. I loved it.
And the horror movie on the cover box said, "He's chillin', he's killing."
And if I remember, the VHS also had that kind of thing where you turn it and it changes
it was like a 3D
the image.
cover.
It looks like a snowman that's friendly. You turn it and it's like evil. You know,
it was a huge rental at Blockbuster when we worked there. Yeah,
it was pretty good. I liked it.
There's a scene where the snowman attacks a woman in the shower. And she's totally naked for no good reason.
Yeah, well, other than being naked.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Gremlins, kind of a Christmas movie, takes place at Christmas.
Takes place at Christmas. The first one.
The Gremlins turned into evil villains. We know that, but they didn't start out that way. They were initially in the form of cute Mogwai.
Yep.
However, there were 3 important rules you had to follow to prevent them from becoming evil. Derek, can you name the 3 rules of caring for a Mogwai in the film Gremlins?
Of course I can. The first rule is don't expose them to bright light. Sunlight will kill them. Number 1. Number 2, don't get them wet because that causes them to multiply.
Yes.
And number 3 was don't feed them after midnight or they get cocooned and become the gremlins.
You got all 3. Okay.
That was the easiest one you've got so far.
There you go. What was the name of the neighborhood bully played by Zach Ward in the 1983 film A Christmas Story?
Oh, Farkas. Scott Farkas. No.
I'll give it to you, although it's not Scott Farkas, it's Scut Farkas.
Oh.
Scut Farkas.
Hey, the only reason I remember that is we just watched A Christmas Story Christmas this week.
Right.
And he's in, because they're all
cool.
in it again.
Very
That's
cool.
how I knew it was Farkas. Yeah, but I couldn't remember.
He was actually voted as one of the top movie villains of all time by audiences.
Really?
Yeah. Very cool. Scott Farkas was bad, man. He was very, very bad. One of the most hated movie villains of all time. Who doesn't hate a bully, right?
No kidding.
They're the worst of all. Scott Farkas, though, is not the worst movie villain of all time. I saved the worst for last.
Oh, okay.
Are you ready? The
I hope so.
worst movie villain of all time. Derek, what New York real estate magnate and reality TV personality makes a cameo appearance in Home Alone 2 Lost in New York?
That would be President Donald Trump.
There you go. See, you did
Not
pretty
president
good.
when he did it, but
Yeah.
I guess what do we call him? President-elect? He's not
Yeah.
technically the president, although he's a former president, and you still call them president. So I guess we would still call him president at this point, even though,
Yeah. No, just,
Let's not get into the nuance.
No, we won't. So we've got some time off coming up. We mentioned we're heading into the Christmas holidays, and you and I are going to both do some traveling, spending time with
Vegas,
loved
baby.
ones.
Nothing like Christmas in Vegas.
Yeah, there you go. We'll be spending time with those, loved ones, and well, some we just love, and others like you could do without, but still. But you and I are going to be away for the next few weeks, so we're going to be back in the new year with our annual retrospective. We'll take a look back at the year that was 2024 in pop culture. But until then, I'm Chris McBrien. On behalf of myself, Derek Myers, and our producer Sloth, we'd like to wish you a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. And we also want to thank you very much for listening to Pop Goes Your World, the pop culture podcast for the generations.
Thanks for listening to Pop Goes Your World. You can contact Chris and Derek at popgoesyourworld.com. Please take a minute and review the podcast on iTunes or wherever you download and listen to the show.